I don't need no one to save me. I was born to be the greatest. All that time in that basement, all that time isn't wasted. Rapping, getting faded. I just wanna tell my mom that I made it. Just wanna be the topic of the conversation. Used to rock the gold plated. Now I'm wearing gold chains like I'm famous.
What's going on, everybody? This is Kings and Dreams. Happy Saturday. We got a special one today. But before that, I just want to hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And I know some people are doing some holiday shopping. But the most important thing is this weekend, you get to spend some time with your family. Speaking of family, what is so important about family? You have the unity, you have the togetherness. There's always strength in numbers. So my next guest, friend of mine, friend to the channel, he has talked about his past transgressions, what he's doing in the future, and how he has motivated his children. I could go on and on, but I'd rather bring my guest up, and he isn't alone. Remember when I said family? Family is always important. My man, Mark Daniels, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
How you doing? Great to be here.
Absolutely, man. I see you got the family with you as well, man.
Yeah, we got them all. Here's Claude, Paulina, Kevin, Mark, and Henry, and Frank's on the text back there.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So we got
that one more time.
We got Claude,
Perfect.
Kevin, Mark, and Henry, and Frank's on the running the technical things here.
Okay. All right, man. So how's everyone doing this? How's everyone doing?
We're all doing good. We're all doing really good.
Perfect. And how was everyone's Thanksgiving?
It's really good. Probably one of the best Thanksgiving we had in a long time.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to have this conversation with you all. So thank you very much for joining me today. So the first question I'll ask you, Mark. I know the last time you were on my channel and you had mentioned that you being a single father. First question to you is this. So when raising your children, did you raise your children abroad and the United States, or was it just in the United States?
It was both. We were in
combination of both.
Yeah, we were in Latin America from 2003 until 2009. Then I came back here and Their mother brought them back up between 2009 and 2010,
10,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah. So, and then from about 2012 or 11 or 12, she went back to where she was from there, and I've raised them by myself since then. She never returned.
Okay. Let's kind of get into that now. What would you say were maybe some advantages or disadvantages, rather, raising your children now who are in the United States, as opposed to when you were in Latin America?
Well, it was pretty impoverished where I lived at down there. I mean, you had the one town, the tourist town, but if you just get on the outskirts of that, where you could actually, the prices are much better. Uh, there's a lot of poverty down there, which didn't affect me too much. Although I did live with some of the, I'll say the natives right where they lived, but I would have to say I lived on about $600 a month, and at that time I had 4 or 5 kids. I
Four
can't
of us,
remember.
yeah, at time.
And we lived right at the base of a volcano where they actually went up the hill with donkeys to work the fields up there. But that was one of the best times that I was starting my English school then. And for the kids, I think it was okay. It wasn't like the luxury posh homes and perfect yards we have up here, but I wouldn't say that they're any less happy. I would say maybe they're happier down there than what. And it was a good time in my life too, because I was starting the English school, and I would sometimes walk 12 miles a day to teach English for $1 an hour. But we all worked together. It was a unique experience that really I think would benefit anyone.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to keep you guys big for a little bit, but now I want to hear from your children how their experience was in Latin America. So we could go around the table. Let's go from the oldest down to the youngest.
All right. So my experience down there, it was quite different. I mean, like he said, I'd probably say that to a degree, when it comes to materialism, we were a whole lot happier down there. It didn't take much to make us happy. Not much at all. But as long as we were around each other and everything like that, that was the main thing, just being around each other, making sure that we were together. Down there we were considered gringos and stuff, So for the most part, I was in school with him, and it was a bit hard, like trying to fit in with everybody. We looked so different. Two, everybody knew our dad was American, so they assumed that we were the richest kids in school. Now, granted, we probably were, but not to the degree that everybody thinks. People watch TV down there and everything and get the movies and get the ideas in their head. So it's the same as that. But I'll say, like, it was a humbling experience. It makes me appreciate everything that we have up here a whole lot more than an average person my age. Most people my age are complaining about everything. Oh, prices of this, prices of that, prices of this. And, don't get me wrong, here and there it is quite rough. But on the upper hand this isn't a third world country. This is nothing like it was down there. I feel safe walking around here. I can walk, past midnight and be perfectly fine. I can do a lot of different things that I couldn't possibly do down there when it comes to just having freedom, and just the way that I looked whenever I was down there. Everybody was like, oh, gringos, there they go. But other than that, it was a pretty good experience. I would go back any day and live there again. Just haven't been back for quite some time, but I would definitely go back, live there again, do it all over again. I wouldn't change anything, really change much, because that being down there and how, the poverty stricken it was, and how we had everything in my head because we had our family. So that is one of the basic principles that they have down there is you don't got much, but you got family. As long as you got family, you got everything. So that was my experience down there.
My experience, I'm a little bit sick, but it was whenever you live there and you live here, you start to realize how fortunate you are. Like what do they say, Dad? This is the land of the rich.
The land of the abundance, or land of abundance.
This is paradise.
Yeah. This is like, and we live in a land of a lot of abundance, which most people can't get in a country like that. But in my experience, it was pretty good. It was fun. It was tough. You see things there that you wouldn't see here. And not only that, but it's pretty beautiful down there.
Yeah.
Even though it was tough, it was pretty beautiful. But pretty fortunate to live here and still have my family with me. So that was my experience.
Yeah, that was one of the things our cousins, when we were offered to come up here, every single one of our cousins and aunts were like, go, 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 you know? So we're like, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
My experience down there, I don't remember a whole lot from when I was down there, but I remember when I was in school, I remember getting bullied a little bit. It's different than it was here in the U.S. You know, down there, they really bullied you. I mean, they really picked on you and stuff. And I remember down there when in the morning you get up to take a shower, it was cold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was just cold
Cold
water.
showers.
Yeah, it was tough. I remember taking those as a little kid. And I also remember the floors being dirt, but they were swept so much that they were smooth after long periods of time. And I remember down there in school, people used to say something to us about us looking more white and stuff like that. And I remember not having a lot of money and wanting a school uniform down there that we couldn't get. And people used to make fun of me because I wear my regular clothes, you know. And then coming up to the U.S. so different than it was down there, because I remember down there you take a chance of eating something and potentially getting sick. And when you got sick down there, you got sick, like seriously sick.
Yeah. Compared
Compared to up here, you know, you just go to the grocery store, you can buy your groceries, you don't have to worry about them being bad or anything. So
You get a little food poisoning.
yeah,
and
but
kind of thing.
that's as much as I remember down there.
Frank, do you remember anything?
No.
I'll
I'll be completely honest. I don't remember anything from down there.
Paulina?
I don't really remember much. I mean, sometimes I'll remember stuff every now and then, but I don't really remember being down there. I just remember Mom.
And
That's
how old were you when you were up here?
4.
4. Kevin, I don't think you remember anything, do you?
Nope.
I
You're a
remember
toddler.
when he was born, they used to wash him in this little black tub type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just a little baby. But I remember our mom getting mad at us because she would be trying to take care of us after she had just given birth to a kid or something. She didn't stay at the hospital very long either,
No,
I don't think, as
not at
far as
all.
I remember. I knew
You
she.
guys remember when Henry fell out of the tuk-tuk? They got tuk-tuks.
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Little three-wheelers. You probably know what those are. Those little
The only thing I remember was
taxis.
when Kevin fell out of the hammock and broke his arm.
Oh,
That's about
was-
it,
that was
though.
it.
That's like,
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, honestly, the 3 younger ones are pretty fortunate. The 3 oldest ones, we went through some pretty grueling processes down there. Claude and I both got hepatitis from the water and came pretty.
From the water or the food?
It was the food or the water. It was one of the two, and he ended up getting it because he was around me all the time. So it was kind of, that was the closest. Like I was saying the other day, that we probably got to like dying from being sick. It was pretty bad.
I remember another thing too is down there we'd be running out of food or something like that, so we'd fast for Jesus.
Fast
or
for
something.
Jesus,
Man,
yeah.
I hated that. I
You remember
those-
that?
It'd be
That
like
that was when I was gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
it'd be like the next week, and that day is coming up where you're gonna have to
Yeah.
quote unquote fast for Jesus or
Mhm.
something.
How long were you all there after I split up with your mom? A year or two? Or?
They were there
Probably only
for about a year. I was
because-
there for 2. I stayed there for Christmas I wanted to spend one last Christmas down there before I came up to the United States. So I stayed a little bit longer than these two did. They came up right away.
Man, I realized how different it was when Henry and I came up here. I'm like, whoa.
I remember
this place
seeing
is-
Walmart and it looked like a shopping mall. I thought it was like a mall. I was
Yeah.
the biggest store I've ever seen in my life.
First time I went there, I got lost.
Frozen food and stuff.
I
Like it
stole
was
something immediately when I got there because I was like, oh, there's so much stuff. I just grabbed something off the shelf.
yeah. Trying to what do they say? What's that word when you're trying to change into a new environment and stuff?
Adapt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
adapt. There you go.
yeah.
We're trying to adapt was probably the hardest part. It was just trying to change your life because I was convinced when I was down there, even at a young age, I was convinced. I was like, this is it. This is what our life is gonna be. This is what it's gonna be like. I was convinced that that's how it was gonna be. But yeah,
Wow.
it was a good experience.
Okay. Wow. So my next question is with the language, due to the fact that this was in Guatemala, right? Or-
Yeah.
Okay. So Spanish speaking country. So was there any challenges as far as communication or did you learn Spanish?
No, actually, that was actually probably one of the easiest things. Our dad, he was an English teacher, so our English has always been really good. I've always had very good English, and our mom was a Spanish speaker, so it was kind of like when Dad wasn't home, it was only Spanish, and when he was home, it was all English. So we actually, before I came to the United States, I knew less English than I did Spanish. Me and Claude had to redo the grade that we were in because we got held back because of the lack of English skills and everything. So
Oh, okay, got you. Now was everybody bilingual or?
everybody was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
I'm the only one who still speaks fluent Spanish.
The rest of them forgot.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I still speak, but they spoke naturally without
Yeah.
an accent.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so my next question is, so Mark, you moved to the United States. What year did you move everyone to the United States?
I came back here in 2009, September, end of August, September, and Claude and Henry came up 3 months in that same year, 2009. And then the rest of them came up in 2010, I think. So
I came up in February of 2010.
And their mom came back and forth and stayed off and on until she went back in maybe 2011.
12?
Kevin's going to be 15, and he was 3 when she left. So
2012?
12-ish,
Yeah,
yeah.
2012. It's like the
Maybe
beginning of
she
2012 when she
Yeah.
left. I remember because I thought the world was going to end.
but we're all still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what propelled you to move everybody back to the United States, Mark?
Well, I had some trouble down there with now my ex-wife, and she wouldn't let me see the kids. So I thought, well, what's the point in staying here? I couldn't do anything, and so I decided to come back. And
Okay.
I was really pretty despondent at the time because I wanted my marriage to work, but she was interested. She just wanted to be single, basically. I guess we got married and we had the kids, and she got to run with her single sisters, and then she was enjoying it, and she just didn't want to take the responsibility of raising the kids. And when they were down there, actually they would stay with the family. I don't think she was around much. You guys told me.
Yeah, no. Tia Sheni was more of the caretaker.
Yeah,
That's why we
aunt.
called her mom.
And so,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, so I came back here, and then she was surprised that I left her there. And I said, well, what am I going to do? You don't want to let me see the kids. I can't be a father. So, but anyway, she started to bring them up here. We kind of tried to work things out, and she just was still interested in running around. And of course, now she regrets it. But by the time I was able to let her go, it was a little too, she wanted to come back and stay, but it was too late then because I'd done one all with my life. I had given her many opportunities, or given us many opportunities, but that single life is pretty seductive for some people, and the partying and the carrying on and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I've been there, so I know, and that's kind of how it worked out. But we've got by just fine. And actually, Mark was mad the last time I brought her up here to try it again. After many attempts, he was angry because he knew it would probably be the same thing, which it was. So last time I sent her back, I made my amends and said, if I don't see you again, because I kept bringing her back, hoping it would work. And so I was able to send her back and just cut off all contact for about a year and a half. I talk to her off and on now and then. The kids do too, but I just didn't bring her back again. And that was the end of it. Like I say, she wishes she would have made a different choice, but sometimes our choices affect the rest of our lives, which in case this one did. She could come and see the kids anytime she wants, but she just talks to them through Facebook and Messenger.
Instagram and everything, yeah.
So that's kind of how that went.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now you come back to the United States in, you said 2009, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was some of the potential pitfalls and adjustments that you had to make, and then I want to hear from everyone else after you, Mark, on the adjustments.
Well, so when I came back here, of course, I'd had which I have a painting company today, which I started in '85, painting and restoration. But when I went down to Guatemala in 2003, I closed that down. I had English school in Guatemala. But when I came back, one of the reasons too is because my father was sick and my mother couldn't take care of him at home. So he was in a nursing home. And one of my goals, or one of the things, my visions in life, was that my mom and dad would not have to go to a nursing home. So I came back to take care of him. So I came back, and obviously I couldn't work because he required 24/7 care. So for about 4 years, for the first couple of years, I stayed at my mom's, helped her take care of dad. And then once I got all the kids up here, I got a little trailer, a 1976 single wide it was about a mile down the road, so I could be there at mom's. I had to go there in the morning to get him up and then lay him down at noon, get him back up at 4, and then lay him down in the evening to go to bed and bathe him and all those things you have to do. So we took care of him at home, and I couldn't work. And at that time, they wouldn't pay you to. Now, actually, I think that you can get paid through Social Security to take care of a family member, but that time they wouldn't, which was odd. You could put them in a nursing home; they'd pay for that, $5,000-6,000 a month. So I couldn't work. So I would work a little bit, a few hours a day, but I couldn't commit to anything. So he passed away in 2012, and then I was able to start the business, full force again. So building that back up. But honestly, we were on welfare from 2010 maybe to 2012, which was a humbling experience for me, because if you'd asked me anytime before that if I would ever be on welfare, I would say there's no way. But I was. It was good for me. I remember going through the grocery line using that EBT card, and one time it wouldn't work. So she gets on the loudspeaker and says, "Well, he's got a welfare card here." And it's like, I hate using that, even though, I wasn't like just sitting around and sucking off the system, and I pay my taxes like everybody, but still, I just didn't like it. Hurt my pride. But there's a lot of things that happened during that time and before I came back that humbled me and helped me to get to the position I am now, where I was able to start my business back up, raise all the kids, and realize that I can't do it on my own. Without God's help, I couldn't have done all this. And all the people that I believe God works through people and has helped me through so many different people. Because, I raised them by myself. Mom helped out some. She was quite elderly. She died another 6 years later, and I took care of her in the home before she passed away. But I was able to do that because I've been self-employed all my life. It's very important to me. But I couldn't have done this. And after that, she's been gone 6-7 years now. But I couldn't have done it without all the people that helped me. My business has grown exponentially. We had a little rough time last year for some reason. I don't know why, but everything just stopped for us. And we all pulled together, and Frank was working, and he at that time had a company, and the boys were getting their tax refunds back. So we all pulled together, and we were able to make it through okay. And then this year has just exploded, and the best year we've ever had. 4 of the boys are working for me now. So, but like I said, I give all the credit to God, because I couldn't have done that without the people He put into my life to help me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, how was it being on assistance as a father? Like, what I'm asking is, what was it challenging for you as a father to get on assistance?
You mean as far as getting it?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that was the second time I was on. I was on one time in 2001.
Okay.
Because I was going through this stressful time, and I got what they call reactive arthritis. I couldn't hardly walk, and I couldn't hardly work. The pain was so bad I had to take these narcotics, and I was able to get on it then. But the only reason I bring this up to tell you how it was easy to get on it the second time, because the first time I wouldn't have got on it had not one of the social workers lied. Because if you've worked steady, you can't get on it.
Right.
Because you have a past income. Now, the reason I was able to get on it easy the second time when I came back is because out of the country for 6 years, I had no record of any employment. So it was easy. I just went down there and signed up with the kids, and they gave me like $1,000 a month and $600 or $700 cash. So I never used all that food money. But it was easy to get on the second time because I had no history of work. So what I'm experiencing, or what I experienced, is if you don't work at all, you can get on it. But if you're a hardworking guy and you have an income and you have a tragedy or something happens, you can't get on it because you have a history of, you have to not work for a year or two. So the second time it was easy, like I said, because I came from out of the country, I had no record of employment. The first time, the only reason I got on it because a social worker was dishonest about the form and got us on there. But so that's kind of how it was.
Got it. Understood. Okay. All right. So now, what was some of the pitfalls and challenges? And I guess this would more or less kind of go for the older kids, because the younger kids were primarily raised in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So, Yeah. So for the guys that are on my right side, the older ones. So what were some pitfalls reacclimating yourself to the United States?
Um, one of the biggest ones was probably just school. School was just, I mean, it was just weird how it was set up, you know. And the first couple grades in Guatemala, they teach you the first grade. I know they teach you manners, and when you're down there, so they teach you manners, and then second grade they start teaching you more of like, I think it's like the adding and subtracting and stuff. Well, then we came up here, and by third grade they're already doing division, and I'm like 2 or 3 years behind on that already. But another thing was, immediately whenever I was introduced to school, I was introduced as a foreigner. So everybody treated me different. Everybody was just like, "Oh yeah, that's the kid from Guatemala. That's the kid from Guatemala."
Let me interrupt. Isn't that strange? You were down there. He was down there, and he was a gringo, and then he comes up here. And I'm a Spanish guy.
Now I'm a
Okay, go
Hispanic guy, so that was like, and what was weird about it was my third grade teacher. She actually had taken all the Hispanic kids and sat them all in a corner of the classroom and stuck me there with them because she understood. She'd kind of figured that I couldn't speak English. Now, when I first got into class and I'm like, "Hey, everybody," they're like, "He speaks English." I'm like, "Yeah, I speak English. It's just not the best, you know." So it was that, and then I don't know. I mean, I got around pretty good. It wasn't necessarily too hard. I guess really one of the things getting used to was, you know, it was strange to just constantly have food, never run out of food, you know, never not have something to eat. So that was something there too. You know, in Guatemala, we played outside, you know, we just had to get used to having stuff without it letting it go to our heads. That was the main thing. It was pretty much like, I'm like, okay, so I have all this stuff, and I know my dad works for it and everything, so I have to appreciate it. So it was just strange, just completely changing our lives, literally from living in like a rainforest to coming and living like a city, and then your local supermarket is the size of the biggest mall that they have down there. So I mean, I made a lot of friends. There's a lot of Hispanic people in this town, which we got really lucky. And it's funny because one of the guys I was best friends with, we ended up moving into his neighborhood, and his neighborhood is actually full of it's this neighborhood that we live in now, and it's actually mainly Hispanics. So, you know, for the first few years, it was kind of strange. You know, it was just hot water, you know, having our toys, having food, you know, having everything that we needed, and then going to school, and then you know, how everybody lines up and goes to lunch and everything. It was just the smallest things were actually probably the more challenging things to try to get used to, you know. And then English too, on top of that, trying to learn English, that was literally the hardest thing, because I mean, trying to learn English from any other language, I can guarantee, is painful. And it was for us, you know, just trying to figure out how this language worked fully. We spoke it, we just didn't know how to read it or write it correctly and everything. So that was reading, writing, and school was really the probably the most challenging part. And it wasn't the people, but it was like the curriculum that we were being taught. And then sitting there for so long, you know, I just got bored and tired of school fairly quickly and everything. And, you know, just not having mom around, it was like I rebelled against all the teachers because I had all female teachers. So because I didn't have mom around, I had assumed that every other woman was like that too. So I give all my teachers a really, really hard time. Now, granted, I have 2 or 3 teachers that I see to this day, and "Oh, you're such a good kid," and stuff. I'm like, last I remember, I was a knucklehead. But for the most part, school was really the most challenging, difficult part.
Well, I'll say this: the only time they ever went without food was when I wasn't there,
Mhm.
and it wasn't because I didn't give them money.
Yeah.
I did not them. I gave money to your mother, but
Typically went towards clothes and her fashion kind of stuff. You know, I mean, we were used to that though. You know what I mean? So,
but down there, that's a common thing that the parents eat first, not the kids. We're up here. It's almost like the kids get thought of first before the parents.
Yeah.
It's just kind of backwards. And the reason I think that is because without the children to support the parents when they get older, they have no structures or systems like we have Social Security. They don't have that now. They depend on the children. So the parents are taken care of first, and then the children 2nd.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. You know, here in the United States, like when you put food out or whatever, like it's typically the kids eat first, right? Because in the culture in the United States, like if the adults eat first, like it's so frowned upon.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyone else want to talk about their adjustments as far from relocating from Latin America to the United States?
Yeah, like my brother said, yeah, going to school and learning English, especially for me because I was so young. I spoke mainly Spanish when I first came up.
Mhm.
And when I first came to school, I was in kindergarten, and I remember learning like the ABCs and stuff like that, and I didn't know how to say any of those letters. Nothing like that, you know? And I remember when I was in kindergarten, I came home from school one day, and I learned how to count to 100, and I was laying next to my dad, and I was counting. He's like, go to bed. You know, I was pretty excited to count to 100. Another thing too was when we lived at my grandma's house, I would get lost, even though it wasn't really big at all, but it was just so different than houses down there.
Yeah.
Like it had carpet and different
Hallways.
You
rooms,
guys had dirt
hallways.
floors where you with
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
mom, yeah.
Yeah,
They
and
were with
like,
their mom.
Oh, we were the richest in the neighborhood because we actually ended up getting concrete
Whoa.
on the floor,
Yeah.
so we were fancy.
And it was just, it was difficult, you know, trying to figure out how to live in a house that's actually a real home, you know. And then down there too, you're not as supervised as much as we were up here. And I remember a couple times I'd be sitting out in the driveway at our grandma's house, and I'd be doing bad things like sticking my middle finger out, or I'd be going outside to pee, even though there's a bathroom and stuff. And my dad had to teach us all that. You know, you can't, you know, be sticking your middle finger out or cussing or doing all this stuff. And there's nothing inside that you can use. You don't have to pee outside. You know.
Yeah, down there they just pee wherever.
Everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere and anywhere.
I guess they still do, but I remember I was not shocked, but surprised. You drive down the road, and even the women would squat down around the side of the road, but there's no bathrooms for them to use anywhere.
Yeah, no public access like that, like there is here.
Unless you're eating in a restaurant, you can't use bathrooms down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's a lot different. I still remember this one time our grandma in Guatemala chopped the chicken's head off, and that's how.
Oh yeah.
And that's how you know you got
Right.
chicken. You'd raise chicken, but over here you can just go to the supermarket and get one that's already
frozen chicken.
Yeah.
It's like that.
perfectly frozen chicken ready.
That was crazy seeing all the frozen food. I just could not understand how there was so much food in one place, and I'm like, does all of this get eaten? Because down there you cannot waste. Like you are not allowed to waste. And even up here, I find myself trying to scarf down a plate because I don't want. I still have that in me that I don't want to waste a single bite.
I've seen them take a chicken that was smelling, clean it off, wash it, and then cook it.
Yeah.
It was smelling because it was getting old. They'll wash off and then cook it. I didn't even. They got these vendors out in the streets. They got this big thing of meat that twirls around. I wouldn't even think about eating it. It's hard telling how long. If they don't sell it, they don't throw it away.
Yeah.
I'll just guarantee you.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, no, you're right. And you mentioned the frozen food. Like, of course, traveling outside of the United States, you don't see you don't see frozen food like that. Everything is fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't see like TV dinners or none of that nonsense.
Yeah, you go to the market and they got a cow or a pig hanging up in there,
Yeah.
just butchered that morning.
Or the fish are just getting freshly pulled out. I mean, it's like everything. Like I said, the frozen foods was literally like the most taboo thing I'd ever seen. I'm like, I just could not understand. I couldn't
trying to
understand.
think, did they have that Maxi Bodega or no? Was that
That Maxi Bodega was the mall.
Oh,
that was
okay.
their biggest
All right, I
mall.
couldn't
So they
remember
had
that was the market.
food and they had clothes and stuff there too. But that's why I said that was their biggest mall that they had there at the time. I don't know about now because everybody's got all my cousins have iPhones and stuff down there now.
Yeah.
But I know when we went down there, I was comparing, or when I came up here, I was comparing this Walmart Supercenter to the Maxi Bodega, which means like maximum size store, superstore, supermarket, you know. And like I said, I walked in there and, you know, I'm like, man, like I only seen this in movies, you know, I had only seen it in movies and I could not believe it. And, you know, I remember the first time seeing snow, it was just a pile of dirty snow outside of this building that had just got shoveled off. But I'm like, snow, it's snow. Let's go look at it and everything. So that was pretty exciting.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyone else want to talk about their adjustments or we can move on?
Paulina? You didn't know.
I mean, when I moved up to Main Street, I had a teacher because she taught like bilingual classes. She was my teacher. She'd pull me out of class every day up until like third grade, I think it was. And she would try to teach me English because I knew English, but it was a little hard to talk
Mhm.
in English, like to have the right grammar. Because obviously I knew the English words, I just didn't know how to put them together and make them make sense.
For the most part, the subject is it first in Spanish? The subject's first, and then
Car red, they say instead of red car.
yeah. So and that was
Yep.
actually, you bring that up. Yeah, that was another tough part. You know, being we were in a class called ELL, so English language learning.
Yeah.
That was like the main
Yep.
class. So you know, you're getting pulled out of class, and everybody's like, "Oh, this kid's already different." And then you're getting pulled out of
Yeah.
class with another group of kids, and they're like, "What's wrong with them?" You know, so that was kind of tough. That was a little iffy trying to explain to you know, the American kids. A lot of the American kids, you know, I assume because of their parents, they're really ignorant. You know, they if they were asking a question, it wasn't necessarily like a kindly asked question. It was like, it's like, why are you in those classes? Are you like dumb or something? It's
Yeah,
like,
and another thing too about it though is like when I would sit in class when I didn't know English and I'd get called on, so the teacher would like, because you know that's what teachers do, they try to get you out of your comfort zone
Mhm.
because that's what they're meant to do.
Mhm.
When she would call on me, everybody was so quick to just kind of
look over.
stare at you and wait for you to talk, because like when you only know Spanish and you don't know any English, when you go up to, you know, where everybody speaks English, you don't want to talk
Yeah.
because
Right.
then you feel out of place, you don't feel right about it. So
Right. You feel embarrassed.
right. So then whenever the teacher would call on you, everybody was so quick to be like, oh, she's finally going to talk, or
Mhm.
he's finally going to talk.
Yeah.
Well, I found it odd too that they automatically labeled them Hispanic, although they're American citizens,
Yeah.
because they were half Spanish. They were born. 3 of them were born down there, but they're Americans because I got the birth abroad, right? Registered at the embassy, so they're the same Americans as I am as an Irish or a German American, but yet they labeled them Hispanics all through school.
Still to this day, we get labeled that. It's actually, that's the main thing. It's like, and most people don't even take the time to consider they're Guatemalan. But anytime someone's asked about us, like, oh, do you know Mark? You know Claude? Oh yeah, the Mexican Claude, the Mexican
Yeah, they
Henry.
call them Mexican.
So-
Everybody up here is
It's the same to
everybody
most
down there is a
people.
Mexican. Yeah, whether
Yeah.
they're from South America. Or,
Still to this
or
day,
Honduras
you know,
or
we
whatever.
still get labeled as, you know,
Yeah.
even a couple times Latin boys, you know.
Then
And
they ask you if
Yeah.
you speak Mexican. You
Yeah,
speak
that-
Mexican?
yeah,
And
that's
then
if you
there's
speak
some.
Mexican.
You
I
speak
had
Mexican.
I had
Yeah.
a couple people tell me that, like, obviously we all look pretty white, but I've had a couple people tell me that when they look at me, they can tell that me being white isn't just all that I am. Like
Yeah,
I'm more
yeah.
than just that. They can just see it
I
in my
can't tell.
face.
They
I know-
look-
I know
they
this-
Don't look Spanish.
Yeah. I mean, from the pictures, like I can tell that everyone looks biracial, especially like the older ones. Like I can tell, like, you know, I see the biracial.
They all got brown eyes. I know that.
Yeah, and that's actually when we've had the most love. Like, you know, really, I've always gotten along more with, you know, one of my best friends. He's black, and I got along with him better than I did with, you know, any of my other friends, and it was because off the rip, I knew they were different, and I knew that we were different too. So it was just immediate. And all my Hispanic friends, they're all dark skinned people too. So
Right.
it reminded me of my cousins or even my mother. So I immediately gravitated towards anything that wasn't, you know, anything that wasn't white. It sounds
Anything that
crazy.
wasn't
But, yeah, it sounds crazy, but that's like that's what my mind was set to. It's like, okay, all my friends down in Guatemala too, they were all dark. I had one
Didn't,
Hispanic friend that looked like a straight American.
didn't one of your black friends live here for a while?
Yeah.
Some time, a long time
Yep,
ago.
for sure. Yeah. And still, even to this day, I'm connected with like Marvin, you know, him and I are really good friends too. And I every single time, you know, when I first met them, they even made the joke. It's like, oh, he's invited to the cookout. You know, they already knew what was going on. So that's kind of like how, even to this day, like my mom, you know, showed me, for example, like she was the one who showed me R&B and rap music and everything. And that's where I gravitated to. I liked the way it sounded rather than most of my friends. They listen to country music or they listen to all that kind of stuff around here. Now, granted, I listen to it once in a while, but still, even to this day, it's like R&B and all the old school rappers and everything. That's kind of like what I've gravitated to, and even have gone as far as to make my own music and everything like that.
Paulina likes that country and western.
Yeah, she does.
Oh, nice. Now, so how long did it take for all of you to read and write in Spanish? Because I know that you had to like reacclimate yourself. How long did that process take?
It actually didn't take as long as most people would assume. Our dad was an English teacher, so anytime we had a question or anything like that, we came and asked him. Like, I remember the first time I read the word Europe, I almost had a stroke. I straight could not understand how that said Europe. So I can
How would you say?
I read it Europa. Europa.
Europa.
So like I'm like, and
Europa.
everybody in the class is
I
like
think they
looking
said
at me like that.
Europea.
Yeah.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's how I just read it how it looked. And I remember coming home and asking him, I'm like, how do you say this word? You know, and that was just, that was, but for the most part, I think it probably took me like up until sixth grade. I really like it was probably 3 years. So third grade up until about fifth, sixth grade. That's whenever I really got to learning. I got the hang of it pretty easy.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
For me, I remember one time in first grade, I was writing a sentence and I kept like miswriting it so much that the teacher got mad at me. So ever since then, I've always tried which is why I'm so good at pronunciating words.
Yeah.
And looking at words and being able to read them. The reason it's always been so easy for me is because that one time that happened. After that, I was like, I'm gonna be as
Stuck
best
with
as
you,
I
yeah.
can at English. And ever since then,
You
I've
do
been
have the
really
best
good at it.
English out of all of us, in my
You
opinion.
have a little difficulty reading sometimes, don't you, Frank? You think it's because you spoke Spanish? Or?
No, that's Kev. I
Oh, is it
think.
Kev?
Yeah, he had a hard time reading when he got up here in his elementary years. They put him in a reading class. It was like in your
yeah.
An assisted class.
and they still had him in it just because they just never took him out.
The difference was all of you except Kevin were raised with me in your first few years,
Yeah.
but I wasn't with. When Kevin was born, I was split up with your mom, so you were 2 before you. Came up
almost
here?
almost three before.
Almost 2 or 3 before he came up here, so he didn't get that first impression of English like these other ones.
Because even we didn't speak English to
Yeah,
him.
they
We
didn't,
spoke
and I
only
wasn't-
Spanish.
Yeah, and with
there.
with Kevin's words when he would read a book, one of the it's kind of like it's not necessarily dyslexic because you read words backwards, but one word he would see in a book would come before the actual word.
It's
Like
the-
it was like the
subject
way
comes
that
before the adjective
Mhm.
in Spanish.
yeah, so
Yeah.
whenever Kevin would speak Spanish, the way that he read books, he was trying to read that, but in the way that Spanish
Yeah.
people talk.
Yeah, because I remember for the first few years, like even up until how old are you now?
14.
14. I want to
15
say
-ish.
probably until he was like once he turned 11, we were actually able to have full on conversations with him and
Yeah.
everything. I still remember because you got to think about it. He went from learning a language and then having to drop that language to learn a whole nother
Mhm.
language. So it was kind of hard for him. He did stutter quite a bit for a little bit, but other than that, like once he got older, now he just can't stop talking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I remember Dad would have a hard time understanding what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't make any sense. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was younger. He didn't really know how to speak that well. So
Yeah.
He's
I would
still,
have to try to figure out what he's saying, then translate to my dad.
he still doesn't know what to say. I'll talk fast. He'll be like,
Mumble.
what?
Yeah.
You do
Oh,
mumble,
where he
you
gets that
do.
from?
I don't know.
Gotcha.
Get some clogs.
Oh man, speaking of about how you were talking about that, I remember one day we were all riding the bus to school, and he wanted to go with us.
Yeah.
He was tired so bad. Now he
That was
hates
the
to
first
go.
I hate
day of
it.
school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like begging to come with us because he stayed home.
Yeah.
And we all of us went to school, every single one of us besides him, because he was the youngest. And in the video, he was like, "Bye, guys."
I'll tell you something I noticed, King, is between these kids and the way my brother and I was and other kids I grew up, they're like friends. It's just whole different. Like they work with me. To watch them, it's not like white people, gringos anyway. My brother and I were never as close. I mean, I went out with my brother, we did things, but these guys got a different relationship. It's a Spanish thing. The family is you know, because you've been out of the country, you've been to Colombia, different, so you know what I'm talking about. And that's the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot closer knit. There's a lot more. I don't know how to explain it. Really, it's just different.
It's a different dynamic
Well,
between
like
us.
Paulina and Frank are like best buddies.
Well, actually, me and Claude are best buddies.
Claude too, but you guys are. Like,
Yeah, no, it's like I would say that the dynamics as far as the United States compared to Latin America when it comes to family, right? Like every weekend, I don't know how it was in Guatemala, but I in Colombia, like with my ex, like every weekend, like it was like a family reunion, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, it was always this togetherness. Now, typically, in the United States, like people will get together for like holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Easter, and it's kind of like spread out. You know what I mean? In Latin America, it's pretty much every weekend, so there's that closeness.
Yeah.
Right. I know when I first went down there, I would see 4 or 5 guys or a couple guys walking with their arms around each other, and I'm thinking, are they gay or what? And then I would see women holding hands, but what? It's just family, mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Brothers. It's just the way they were.
Yeah, the way that I think that dynamic is built is because the lack of everything else. You know, like I said earlier, when you don't have nothing and your family is the only thing you have, you make sure that is the solid piece of like a family foundation that you can make. You know,
family
what I mean?
is a necessity there.
Yeah,
where here it's not. It's kind of like they may live in the same house, but everybody lives their own life.
Yeah, they do.
We don't do that here.
No,
but it's a common. When I grew up,
that's true.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big difference. I've noticed that for sure. Okay, so Mark, my next question to you is now you are on welfare. You know, you got yourself together. What was some of the biggest challenges of trying to get everyone acclimated to how things run in the United States? You yourself.
Well, I don't know. I don't really think of anything specific that was hard to do. Just some small things like, he took something from Walmart. Thievery in Latin America is pretty common, more common than not.
So it's a principle.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
Does that make you take it back?
Yeah, and give it to the lady. It was
I made him
one of
take
the most
it back.
embarrassing things I ever did.
Never did it again.
What did you steal?
It was a push pop. Is what it was.
They were a little more mischievous than what's the word? Juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
Because down there it's just a whole different world. I compare living in Latin America like being in the Wild West.
Mhm.
There's freedom there, but there's also
At a cost.
At a cost, a lot of danger.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
School wasn't an issue. I can't really think of anything off the cuff.
The only thing right now that I can think of, and it's like not necessarily an issue, but it's a topic right now that us 3 older ones have been talking about, is trying to get the 3 younger ones to appreciate what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Because they grew up with it compared to us. We didn't have that kind of stuff. Like, for example, they're growing up with the brand name clothes, the Nikes, and all the top tier stuff. You know,
those guys wore treasure shop clothes.
Yeah, it's this
dollar
little
store. I had to get it.
Yeah, so we're talking about wearing hand-me-downs that who knows how many other times they've been passed down to other people. But
even up here for a few years.
Yeah, and that when we were up here, so that was, as we got older, even then now they have more because us older boys, we do more. We do a whole lot more. So
we work for the company,
now that we're older, we make sure that Christmas isn't on our dad anymore. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've tried to take care of Christmas myself as the older brother, because to me, my dad's done 20 to 30 Christmases by bringing us up here. So like, it's kind of like the same thing. Like when it comes to that kind of thing, I grew up watching my mom and my uncle and my aunts all try to take care of their parents. So any chance that I possibly get, and Henry's actually even better than I am, but any chance that I possibly get to bring the family together without causing my dad any stress, or getting the Christmas presents for everybody without having to cause him any stress. Anytime I get the opportunity to do that, I try to do it. And I always wondered why, but now that we're sitting here talking about it and thinking about it, it's because I grew up watching my mother and my aunts try to take care of their parents.
Yeah, all I had to do yesterday was put the turkey in the oven, and Mark and his girlfriend cooked all the rest of it. So it's a piece of cake. And then last year, you bought all the gifts for everybody.
Yeah.
So, and last year, like I said, was a how would I say? It was a character building time for our family, and I was a little bummed out about that because I wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, it just happened, but yet, like all things in life that I think are bad at the time, looking back in retrospect, it actually brought us all closer together.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time in the kitchen just talking and just pulling our finances together and just trying to be a little more frugal. And even after the hard times passed and the prosperity started coming in, we've maintained that relationship that we were able to get from that time of difficulty or lack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a blessing. And many things in my life that seem maybe bad or difficult during the time, if you can try to look at them as happening for you, later when you look back in retrospect, you find that there was a lot of good in it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I completely agree. Shout out to Black Nubian for the $2 Canadian. I definitely appreciate you for being here. All right, so we're almost at the 1 hour mark. Now I wanted to sorry, did somebody say something?
No, no.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Yeah, so we're almost at the 1 hour mark. So I wanna transition more into what you're currently doing now, and as far as how Mark you have you said you have four of your sons that are involved in the business. So let's kind of go back, like when did you start the business and when did you start to get your sons involved? So let's go that way.
All right. Well, I started the business in '85, like I said, but I closed down until I reopened it back in 2012. And I started the boys. You were the first one, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't 5, 6 years. How many years? How old were you when you started?
When I started the summer of 2012.
Okay.
Because
you started helping me then.
Yeah, and that's whenever I
And
started.
how old were you then?
I was 12. I had just turned 12 years old. I
Yeah,
had
so he
just turned
started
12.
helping me then. But as far as working for me full time,
That was probably
6, 7
2016 because I didn't want to go to school no more.
yeah.
And 2016, 17, I asked you if I could just work.
Yeah, we got a bunch of high school dropouts here. They're never going to get a job, and that's okay because none of us want a job.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway,
No, absolutely.
yeah, that was
Yeah, no, it's better to build something for yourself as opposed to helping someone build their dream, right? Because
started. I guess Henry and Claude started from about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to go to school either, so they came to work. And then Mark came back. He worked for another company for a while. And he came back 6 months ago?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
And then now I actually have it's a LLP, a limited liability partnership, which everybody will have a certain percentage of the business. And Henry, I'm training to be the to take over more or less, to be able to run the business. So he's doing real well in that. But I'm still working, of course. But
Okay.
I'm going to travel to Bucharest here in a couple weeks or a week. Maybe I'll go next week. So and then that's going to give Henry an opportunity to be dad while I'm gone. So he's kind of
okay.
his way into, because like when we're on the job, what I will do, I'll leave and let him finish things up, and that is a lot of times one of the most stressful things, wrapping the job up that we've been on for a couple weeks. So plus then he'll have to come home and listen to the kids when they get there with all their demands and make sure everybody gets up and goes to school. We still have 2 in school. So all four of them's working for me now, are working, not really for me. We're all working together. Would be a better way to say it, because I let Henry make the decision sometimes, and because he's going to have to learn how to do things, and they make mistakes just like I did. It's the only way you can learn, really.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The best way to learn is by making mistakes, so that you know what to do and what not to do.
Right.
Agreed.
I completely agree with that.
For sure. Yeah, and actually with Henry leading the company too, it's giving me the opportunity. You know, most people are like, "Oh, you're the older brother. Why aren't you the one leading the company?" I have a son now and stuff. That's why I don't live here no more with them. So I've actually been moved out of the house. Yeah. Oh, what can I say? I've worked through a couple other companies and stuff like that, and they were all right. But you know, not to pat ourselves on the back, but none of the other companies have the integrity that my father's company did. So that's what made me really return, because I was starting to dislike my job again. And I'm like, man, I'm not liking painting. You know, I actually was wanting to quit again in restoration. I wanted to quit that, but then started working through my father, which allowed me to really put my skill to the maximum use that I can. And on top of that, remain doing my work with integrity and honesty and doing what I actually enjoy. And, you know, Henry's my partner in crime. I mean, it's funny because he's 3 years younger than me, and we used to fight all the time, but just slowly over time. I
let him go at it out in the yard one day at the trailer.
Yeah, I remember that. And I don't know why, but just over time, it's just, he's a better friend than most of my friends. Now, granted, I have quite a bit of friends and everything, but at the end of the day, who's been there with no judgment, with open arms and full love, has been my family. Nonetheless, my family has been Henry. So like that, like these two, they're best friends. Me and Henry are absolutely best friends. And then you got Frank and Kevin building their bond as time goes on. So even like through, like he was saying, at the hard times, there's a level of like vulnerability like that we're able to see out of each other, you know, and we're able to. I was able to swallow my pride a lot of the times and ask Henry for help. He's as an older brother, that is the last thing you want to do is ask your younger brother for help. But
Yeah,
I was able to kind of push that to the side, and whatever it was, he was able to tell me like it doesn't matter because throughout life, you helped me grow to the person that I am. So really, it's just a constant circle of just building each other up.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, you absolutely you make a valid point. Absolutely, man.
And they're
Now,
fighting too.
oh, sorry. This go ahead, Mark.
And they're fighting too. Claude and Henry are currently fighting. Marcus fought, and Frank has had a couple fights. But these guys here are still
Still in the boxing game. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I really like is when it comes to work and it comes to boxing, I guess it's kind of a Hispanic trait we picked up. We're always constantly together, and you're always with family.
Sure. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, what's made me I guess thinking about it now, what's made me stick so close is because, at the end of the day, the world's going to try to chop you down. Like you've told us before, we'd call each other names and like bully each other and everything. And you'd tell us like the world's going to try to cut you down enough. The last people that need to be doing it is your family. So really, after hearing that, even at a young age, we were able to take that in and really soak that in because we were able to put our experiences first and be like, dang, he's right. We got all these people saying, and when we first moved up here, it's like all the Mexicans, it was just, we've always been like, not necessarily outed, but as a different group. It's definitely like anytime people see us, they know we're brothers or related and siblings, and they know that we're some people know that we're of different descent and everything. So overall, everything's just been a complete trip, but one that's made us into the men that we are and are going to continue to be, and has got us closer. And I could only imagine what our relationships are going to be like in the next 10 years.
And I like it that they work. I like it that they're boxing. I never pushed them to box. I probably pushed them to work a little bit. But I also told them that they need to do whatever they want to do, whatever their heart, I'm not telling them they need to be painters. They just decide to do that. They decided to box. It wasn't like I forced or pushed or was trying to live vicariously through them. And that's what's pretty cool too, because they've done it on their own. But it always reminds me of the old saying that I heard. It says, more truth is caught than taught. I was thinking one time when I was in Guatemala, cigarettes were cheap. I started smoking again. And I'm sitting there one day telling them they ought to not smoke. And I'm like, here I'm smoking. So that made that got me to quit the second time. And occasionally I might take a hit off a cigarette once in a while, but I don't smoke. I never smoke. So your kids are going to watch more what you do and mimic what you do than what you tell them, unless what you tell them is congruent with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
The old apple doesn't fall far from the tree is pretty true, and that goes both ways for good or for bad.
No, that's absolutely true, man. And as you know, Mark, I have a 9-year-old son, so I'm very cognizant of like what I say and what I do around my son, because what I realize is that as parents, like, you don't realize how much your kid is watching until like you really like start to see something come out of them, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah. A lot of our mannerism, he often wonders, why are they doing that? Like, you do it, you know what I mean? Just anything as little as, I don't know, for example, a lot of the times when I was younger, I'd sit there and rub my face like this. I had no facial hair, and I always wondered why I did it. But then as I got older and my dad continued to grow out his beard, I'd always watch him sit there and do that. I'm like, that's where I got that from. So it's just even little tiny stuff, like the way we sit in a chair, the way that we say certain stuff, the way that we react to certain things, that's all came from our father.
Yeah, I know when my dad used to drive me around, I always sat up in the front seat or whatever. My dad would drive with one hand and have his hand on the transmission shifter or whatever. Now when I drive, that's exactly how I sit. And people always ask me why I sit like that, because usually people who sit like that are driving manual cars. So now when I sit like that, people always ask me why, and I never really knew until I realized that my dad does the exact same
Yep.
thing.
Yep. I mean, we were doing a job here recently. We were doing some charity work for an old friend of my father's, and the whole time she just kept saying how Henry was like, "Oh my goodness, he's just like your father when he was younger," and just everything. I'm sitting there. I always wonder what my dad was like when he was younger, and I guess I can get somewhat of a little bit of a view from it
You
whenever
took
I.
that video of us where that dude was getting the key for the car.
Oh yeah,
Both
yeah.
sitting there,
Yeah,
same face,
yeah,
right?
little same face. It's like I have a photo, or it's a video of my dad and Henry watching somebody do something. They have the same expression in their face of curiosity, and it looks like they're both angry, but they're both just curious, sitting there watching what it's like. And they look, granted, Henry has darker features and everything, but there was still that even that look, that small look that we picked up. It's the smallest things, you never really would think that we'd pick that up, but we sure did.
Now you think about that principle. What we're talking about right now is so important when it comes to who you spend your time with, because who you spend the most time with, whether for good or bad, you're going to pick up their habits, their mannerisms, and that's why it's so important to be around people who you want to be like, because you're going to pick it up whether you want it or not. It's just the power of association.
No, that's so true. That's so true. Like you gotta really be mindful of who you keep around you. You want to make sure that you have positive people that are doing positive things, because like I've had some friends that have done a bunch of negative things, and I try to instill some positivity in them, and then not realizing some of the negative things that they were doing were starting to rub off on me.
It does.
Yep.
You become what you hang around is the one thing that my dad told me. And he always told me, he's like, show me your group of friends and I can tell you where you will probably be in the next 5 years.
I completely agree with that. So look, I have a question now for the four of you that are in the painting business. Now, it seems like it's a bit of a dangerous job at times. Like, do you embrace the risk?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things that my dad kind of has a hard time still accepting, that we do some pretty sketchy stuff, but you know what? The job's got to get done. Yeah. It has to get done. So there'll be times whenever we'll be doing some stuff that, I won't mention on air, but it's probably pretty risky and everything. He's like, oh, you guys watch out. It's like, we're good. We're fine. We're good. And now, granted, there's times where, a ladder might slip out of underneath you and everything. But if you're not, what do they say? If what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, Claude's the most.
He wasn't following protocol. That's why. If I had caught him doing that, he wouldn't.
Claude gets up on the high stuff and squeezes in between little spaces and all kinds of stuff. He'll get up on that board and kind of dances around up there pretty much because he's so used to it,
Yeah, we work as safely as we can, but sometimes there's just no way to get to things.
To certain things,
stretch or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
You got the people who can do the heavy work, and then you got the little mouse who can do the little places.
But a big part of it is like, here's the thing though, without any sort of danger, I really don't think you are truly living, because as a man, for example, now we can't really, we don't have to go out and hunt. We don't have to go out and kill animals and drag them back miles to butcher them and hope that they're not sick, enough for the family to eat. So we look for, I guess for lack of better words, danger in certain situations, risk, like because boxing. Like boxing, for example, Henry, he's out of the family. He is the best boxer. And we've all put ourselves into, for example, boxing and everything. And it's because, there's hardly in such a safe nation, you hardly have to take any risks. But I think part of being a man and part of becoming a man is taking risks, is being uncomfortable, is doing things that will make you sick to your stomach, to where one day you'll be able to look back and realize, wow, I really, we rather live with the positive what ifs than, what if I would have done that, rather, than sitting there and now we think about it, it's like, oh, well, what if that ladder would have fell, or what if this would have happened? There's risk, and that's what we like, we as men, we feed from, risk taking opportunities.
It helps you build a lot of character too.
Yeah.
Like we do some things like the lift the other day. We had a lift. We were up about 50 foot. That thing gets up there and starts shaking.
Yes.
It gets you get those tingles in your stomach. Those like
a butterfly.
But after you're up, like when you get up on a 40-foot ladder, I first climb up there, I'm pretty dang nervous. But after a day or two, actually, it's more dangerous after some time because you become complacent.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things we do are very risky, but it's just part of the job.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, the risk is a big part of being a man. Is constantly taking risks. Now, don't put yourself in literal danger to where you might die, but take risks. That is a big thing, and our fathers taught us that. And we've watched them. You know, there's been times whenever we were in Guatemala before we came up here. I remember he took the risk on asking us if we wanted to go on an adventure. I had no idea where we were going, but as kids, we even took the risk because our father took the risk of going with him. Like, well, let's do it. We trust dad, you know, and everything. So a risky life is a fulfilling life, in my opinion.
Yeah, another thing about it too is speaking about risks. I know that, you know, as they said, like as a man, you take risks and whatnot. But I know there's been a couple times where I've been scared, like in my room, or I'll hear something outside, or like one of these nights I heard something. I think it was outside my window, and I thought somebody was knocking on the window, you know, messing around. So I just texted Claude, and he went around the entire house.
I went around with that bat.
Yeah, with a bat, and he just looked around the house. And then I know one time, I think I told Henry something about, I think somebody was in the basement, or I think somebody's here or something, and Henry just came downstairs. He didn't have anything, and he just came downstairs and he looked around the house, and no hesitation either. They just do it.
There was that time that, you know, we went up to the other home that you own in Hannibal, and there was we didn't know if there was someone in there. There was one of the windows was broken or something. We were not sure if anybody was in there, but my dad climbed up the scaffolding and crawled through the window, and he didn't say anything besides, "You boys come up here." And without hesitation, I mean, we were just as quick as we possibly could. We got up there, and to our surprise, there was somebody up there. Now, granted, like my dad said, we didn't know if when we came in there, someone was going to be around the corner ready to hatch one of us or something. But that was, we didn't think, we just did it. I mean, it's because we've seen my dad do the same exact thing. I mean, whenever they first moved into our grandma's house, there was a bang at the door or something. My dad walked around the house with the shotgun, walked around outside. And because we've watched him take that protective lead, because he's our father and he was supposed to protect us, I've even been able to do the same exact thing for my girlfriend. I'll get back home from, for example, like a meetup or something, and she'll be like, "Hey, these weird sounds are going on upstairs," you know, and me, you know, I can fight and everything, but I also I protect myself with my firearm. So I walk throughout the whole house. I'll check underneath the bed. You know, I'll tell her, be by the door just in case you hear me yell or something. I need you to take our child and run, and I will take on the danger. But the only reason why and now granted, I'm scared the whole entire time. But the only reason why I can do that and why I'm willing to do that is, one, to protect my family, but because we watched our father do it. Now, if he was a coward, I think that I'd probably tuck my tail between my legs and be like, "Come on, let's just get up out of here." You know what I mean? Not protect my home, not protect my family.
I mean, there's been a couple times where my dad does this thing for the guy's birthdays where he sets off firecrackers and whatnot. And
that's a Spanish thing.
Yeah, and I would get scared because, I mean, the first time he did it, there were only 3 that went off, so I had thought they weren't firecrackers. I had thought they were gunshots and whatnot, and I got really scared and I was ready to leave. And I've always asked my dad what he would want me to do if somebody were to break in or something, and my dad, he told me, he goes, "Leave. Run. Do not stay. Don't try to save anybody. Leave." He says, "Just get out of the house." Like that's his, like that's the number one thing he's always told me to do. Is it they can handle it. They all can handle it.
Get out while the boys protect.
Yeah. So it's also a good thing too, having them all around, because I can go to bed not worried about, oh, is somebody going to come in here in the middle of the night? Like, I don't have to worry about it, because first of all, our house is old. So the minute you walk in the house, we'll know if you're not supposed to be here, because we can just, and we have dogs that bark and yap. So, I mean, regardless of if, you know, you walk in this house and you don't belong here, they will know. Like, it's kind of an instinct for everybody who lives in this house, is when there's someone here that's not supposed to be, they know. And I mean, they'll do whatever to protect
the
me
sounds
too.
that the house makes when you're walking around, like, we know all of
everybody's walking patterns, the way everybody moves around the house. I mean, we all know.
We've all kind of picked up on it, because it's hard to walk around the house and be quiet. And I mean, in order to get to me, you have to get through every single one of these guys.
And I mean, like my father, what do you call it? 5 a.m. fight or flight or something like
4 o'clock in the morning courage. Napoleon talked about.
Yeah.
It's when a man can be woke up out of nowhere and be ready to fight.
Yeah, and because of our father, we were taught that, and we were. I mean, that's how we all stand. We're not the biggest and most brawny men, but hey, we got heart, and we're brave. We're brave men because of our father.
So when I go to bed, I'm not worried about someone breaking into the house. I'm not worried about being not protected by people, and that's the one thing that I can be most grateful about is they would put their lives at risk just to save mine. Like that's just what they would do. It's just an instinct for every single one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna go to your Instagram. I'm gonna pull up your Instagram page, Mark, and I'm gonna show a video of like you of you guys actually doing the work. Let me see if this video.
Oh man,
Oh yeah, I remember
Woo!
that day.
Setting up that scaffolding.
My back was sore. from
Now that right there will make you sick to your stomach.
I'm trying to see how can I make this bigger. But it's, I don't know. You guys can't hear the audio, but
You can see it pretty clearly though.
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, just for an explanation, that's Henry, Claude, Frank, and I, and we're all setting up. We're setting up some scaffolding on a 2-story house that my dad has in Hannibal, and that's not easy work, man. It's some heavy stuff. It's awkward to try to move up there. It's pretty dangerous. It really is. It's some dangerous work.
Yeah, no, it definitely does not look easy whatsoever. Let's see here. All right. Now, is this the same house or is this a different house?
The same house, yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep, that's actually probably even your house. This is probably one of the smaller houses that we worked on. That's not even one of the biggest ones, you know.
Oh yeah, we've done
some mansions, some
we did
monsters.
that Harris house,
Yeah,
which was like a rehab place, and we had to stay in all that stuff. We were up and down ladders and stuff, and staying in.
Yeah.
That was pretty
yeah,
good work too.
That house for the bosses, that was.
Yeah,
it's hard, scary work. I mean, don't get me wrong. Getting up there, you know, you're kind of like, oh, man, can you guys do this without me? But I mean, there's just this sense of fulfillment that you get from doing something dangerous like that. I don't know. I mean, and most people are like, are you crazy? You know, they ask you that question. And I mean, I guess if that's crazy, then I guess we all are a little crazy. But there's just a sense of satisfaction and just like gratitude that you get from being able to do hard work like that. You get to come home and, you know, you get to relax after a hard day's work, and it's hot out there. You know, it gets up there, it gets hot. It's crazy.
I also get that good sense of fulfillment too when I step in the ring after a fight or something like that, or if I'm just sparring somebody. Like I was sparring that pro was a couple weeks back, and we went 4 3-minute rounds, and it was hard. I mean, I was getting punched and stuff, but after I get done with it, I feel so good because I know that I stepped in there and really fought and gave it. I wouldn't say I gave it my all, but I went in there against somebody who's got more experience and was better than me and handled myself pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, your first fight's always a rush. You know, you don't know that guy's in there trying to kill you. You know,
I'm more nervous watching them fight than I was when I used to fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. So like, I think most of you know, like, I played football like throughout most of my life, and my son, he's 9. He plays football, and I have that fear, but I have that confidence because because I mean he's really good at what he does, but like I know the potential risk because my senior year I actually broke my right leg, so I know that risk. But before I transition into boxing, Paulina, you were talking about how like you could call on your brothers and of course your father for protection. So you being the only girl, or young woman rather, so what has been any challenges or the best thing that you have learned from watching your father and your brothers?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that my dad raised me the way I am because I'm not like the girls that live around here, or actually a lot of girls in the U.S. Although I may go out and dress bummy, a lot of the time I can sit here and say that, you know, I don't go out and sleep around, and I'm not, you know, messing with guys just for fun because I'm young and you only live once, and you know, I don't do all that stuff just to, you know, do it. I was raised the right way. I was raised to know what a man likes in a woman, so I'm grateful for that. And another thing too is I'd say the hardest part about being the only girl is maybe the fact that I can't really relate to them in the way that they can all relate to each other because I'm not a man. I mean, I'm not a guy. I can't walk in the house and be like, hey guys, I just worked a 9-hour shift climbing up buildings. Like that's just not, that's not something that I can come home and, talk to them. I mean, I could talk to them about that if that was the case, but I just can't relate to them how they all relate to each other. One thing that I do like about having a family this big and it all being men is probably me being able to cook for them and, them being honest. And, if I'm wearing something ugly or something that I shouldn't be wearing out or anything along those lines, they're not scared to tell me. And that's what I like too, because they all pick on me all the time. Like it's 24/7. They pick on me. So I'm prepared already when somebody else does it. So when I go to school and people say all these mean things to me, it's like, you can't say anything I haven't already heard. So I guess that's like probably my favorite part is somebody will sit there and try to make fun of me or call me names or say something or try to hurt my feelings. And it's like, I've already heard it. So why does it really matter? No opinion matters to me than my own family's and my own. So if my dad doesn't like something that I'm doing, my best thing to do is listen to him because, he's a lot more, what's the word? He's got a lot more knowledge than I do, obviously. And a lot of them do too. I mean, they always take care of me. They go out and work. That's just what they do. I mean,
And I let you use my car.
it's their instinct to just go out and do stuff and be able to take care of me and the rest of the family. But I wouldn't even say that there's really a hard part to being the only girl. I benefit a lot to being the only girl.
Yeah.
I mean, I took care of them for a while. I cooked, I cleaned, I did all this stuff like for them for a really long time. So I'm already prepared to go into a relationship knowing what I need to do for a man so he can take care of me also. So I'll say there's a lot of benefits and there's hardly any parts that I dislike from it because it prepares me to go out into the reality of the world, which is something that a lot of women or a lot of guys or anybody doesn't really know. They all prepared me for when I do move out. So if I'm being honest, I could move out now, but obviously I'm not ready to. But if I really wanted to and I felt like, I was, good to take those steps, I know where to go. I know how to do it. I know the right steps to take. And I know what to look for in a man, which is not easy to find around here, but I kind of see what they do with their women and then I go out and see what I can find.
You're protected physically, mentally, financially, and just everything else.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally a call away. It's really not that hard to get in touch with at least one of them, and I only really need one of them to protect me. I mean, one night this guy threw steaming hot chocolate on me and my friends, and I called Henry, and he was there in like 2 minutes, and he was ready. He was just ready because that's probably one thing that I think they don't like the most is when you put one of their family members in danger, especially if it's especially if it's the only girl.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 2 other sisters, but I'm like their sister, full-blooded. I live here. I was raised with them, so that's probably one of the biggest mistakes somebody can make is probably put the Daniel sister in danger because I'm really the only Daniel sister. Yeah. So the minute you put me in danger, expect my entire family to show up.
What does the guy have to do if he wants to date you?
He has to meet every single one of them.
Mark. I'm asking the questions, man. I was just about to ask something like that.
Yeah. When it comes to,
I get it though because sorry, really quick. I get it because you're a content creator, right? And so sometimes things will prompt you to ask questions. But no, I was just picking at you, Mark.
Yeah, I will say when I have like a guy come meet the family, it's usually sometimes it's individual, sometimes the guys already know who he is. But the 2 people that I think really need to meet him out of everyone in the family is probably Henry and my dad because they run the family. They're like, they run the entire thing. And then that's the first 2 people that the guy would meet, and then they'd go on and meet the rest of them. But I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know if I should bring this guy home. I always think of what they would think of him. Like it always runs through my head. But at the same time, that's beneficial for me because if they don't think he's a good guy and if they're picking something up that I'm not picking up, I might as well go with what they're thinking.
Which is most of the time.
Yeah. So it's like if they think that this guy's not going to be able to take care of me or he's being too simpy or something along those lines, I might as well just listen to them because they know more than I do. I mean, they know how guys are. They know how guys' heads work. And, you know, all I know is, oh, he's cute and he has a nice personality. Like, that's pretty much all I know. But I will say at times it does get a little bit obnoxious having them constantly, you know, there. But at the same time, it's such a good thing because if I were to go out and one night alone and like just walk around the street and someone did anything to cause me harm, they would all be there in a split second. Like I just like picture it as, oh, this guy just hit me or something, and I call the guys and they're all pushing on their gas, pedal to the metal, ready to come get me, running stop signs like they don't care, because that's just one mistake that you don't ever want to make is mess with the Daniel sister and not expect them to all come.
It's
Now, now on the flip side of that, because I mean that's great. You definitely want to protect your younger sister and your sisters in general. Because I have two sisters myself, so I get it. Now, as far as like with guys trying to court you and things like that, like, is that a challenge? Because you got 5 brothers, and your father. So
I've talked to a lot of guys before, and I mean, a lot of people here where I live, a lot of the time like to say, oh, she's kind of a hoe, she sleeps around and whatnot. But the reason why they think that is because nowadays, when girls go out and talk to a guy or date a guy, they sleep with every one of them. That's not what I do. First of all, I couldn't get away with that even if I wanted to, okay? Because it's literally impossible.
Lock her in a room.
If one of them finds out, the rest of them are going to find out. So there's really no way that I can get away with that. And I wouldn't even want to, because it would just lower my self-value. And that's just not something that I choose to do. It's not something that
held at a high standard.
Yeah. So a lot of the time when I try to go out with a guy, lately it's been more of I'll go out with a guy, and then if I think he's, I guess you could say, worthy of meeting my family, then that's the case, because it does kind of get exhausting bringing a guy around who's just going to end up becoming exactly what I dislike, or just going to cheat on me or
disappointing you.
Yeah. So I'm kind of tired of not only me being disappointed, but everybody else, because I'll sit there and talk highly about a guy and then he just switches up.
Yeah.
So then I'm like on to the next one. And as much as it's like, oh, Paulina talks to a new guy every week, it's because these guys don't last any longer than a week. I mean, they last a couple days and then they show there's not even that 3-month rule for me. There's not even that 3-month rule for me anymore. It lasts like a week or two until I realize who that person is. So I mean, a lot of the time it's usually simps, and then there's the guys who go out of their way to just treat a girl the way that they want to treat a girl, which isn't something that I'm into. So it is really difficult trying to get a guy here who isn't gonna disappoint me nor my family, because I don't want my family to be disappointed. And I know all of them want me to find somebody who's going to be able to take care of me, because, they're probably tired of it. So they're probably tired of taking care of me. So they're trying to wait for somebody to come along. And get rid of you. Yeah, they're trying to get rid of me. They're trying to get me out of the house as soon as possible. But a lot of the guys nowadays too, it's kind of like they don't expect anything from the girl, like they don't expect her to cook, or they don't expect her to clean or do laundry, but that's literally what my heart wants to do. Like, as much as like my dad has said before, oh, people are going to say that, oh, he brainwashed you. Even if my dad brainwashed me, I still like doing it regardless. I mean, if I had the choice, I would rather go and clean and cook and do all this and get up early in the morning and go to a job every day and not be able to stay home and do what I want. So that's why I just love that I was raised the way that I was, because, I want something completely different than what somebody else wants, but it just makes me look a lot better, in my opinion.
Gotcha. So I had another question for you. Now, let me just share my screen again. Okay, so this picture now, is this like a beauty pageant, or what is this picture? I mean, I know this is a promo, but there was something it had like Missouri on it.
Yeah. Okay. That is NAM. It's National American Miss. It's a beauty pageant that I went to over the summer.
Okay.
I started off by going to it was like it's kind of like tryouts, but they had it for Kansas and then they had it for Missouri. So like those are two different sections or whatever.
Okay.
They had at least 500, 600 girls, and they picked a select amount of people personally to go, and I was selected to go to that. So that was like obviously I got selected too, so I was gonna go, and it just seemed like something new that I could do and try out or whatever. So I did that over the summer, and then I went to the actual pageant, which Henry joined me, and I have a lot of pictures with him on my Instagram.
Okay.
He was my escort. And then, because, besides my dad, he's the only one that's taller than me when I'm in heels. So I had Henry come with me. And basically, what I did there was I shared about what I donated to, I think it was the library up here in the place that I live. And then I did my talent, which is singing. I wanted to get my voice out there. And then what else did I do? I did my personal introduction, which is me basically sharing who I was and where I'm from. I basically represented Missouri, like a part of Missouri when I went there. And then I was third runner up overall. And I was going to go to nationals, but I also had show choir at the time, which is another hobby that I do. So all that together, it was just a lot of money that I wasn't really willing to spend. I mean, show choir alone was $2,400. So I didn't want to do that, and then also go to Florida during. It would have been this week because those nationals are going on right now. So it would have been this week that I went.
She would have won.
Plus show choir. So I mean, it was pretty expensive, but I did have a lot of fun. I always think about it, and I always want to go back because it's fun to kind of get out of my comfort zone. I met a lot of girls there that kind of made me feel like I was meant to be there. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it's a beauty pageant.
Okay. All right. So guys, I'm gonna get back to you, and we're gonna talk about boxing and things like that. But so talk about show choir. What is that?
Okay, so show choir is basically just a regular choir or group of kids that get picked to go to different states or like different things to go compete and whatnot. I have done show choir since I started it in 10th grade, but I kind of backed off of it a little bit just because, as easy as it kind of looks, it's really not easy at all. It's probably one of the hardest things that you can do. I mean, in school, besides maybe football and whatnot, but even then, show choir is really hard because you're singing and you're dancing. So if you're dancing and you're singing, it's really hard to keep it all together and keep your voice steady instead of it shaking when you jump up and down or moving around and whatnot. So as easy as it looks on the outside, it's really, really difficult when you're actually doing it. So like if you're standing up on stage, they have you dancing in high heels and dresses. So you're on a stage in front of a whole bunch of people dancing. You can't bump into anybody. You have to be perfectly on sync with everybody else. Your voice can't be shaky when you're singing. There's a certain way that you have to go about it. And I really do like show choir. I was on the dance team for a while, so I love dancing, and then singing has always been my favorite thing to do ever. So those two mixed together, I was glad to find something like that. And a lot of schools don't have show choir. A lot of them they really don't. But yeah, I love show choir and I love beauty pageants. As much money as it does cost, it is really, really fun to do, and I love doing it. So
No, that's great. That's great. That's excellent. And I'm glad that you have five older brothers. Well, five brothers. Sorry, five brothers, and you have your father. So I'm sure you are in excellent hands. So good for that, and continue that. And with show choir, I remember it was one of Mark's podcasts that you talked about it, and I had no idea of what it was, but it definitely sounds like it's a lot of hard work, and you have to be coordinated and all of that. So
Yeah, I would say it's pretty difficult, especially getting up on stage in front of a whole bunch of people that you don't know and
Right.
having the fear of messing up, because when we travel, we go this year, it was going to be to Washington, D.C. So we don't just travel like an hour away. It's like 3 hours, 4 hours. It could be 7 hours away. I mean, it's kind of just you go wherever there's competitions and dancing up on stage with high heels on and stuff. And you also have to have the energy. You have to be on sync. You have to learn how to, control your your breathing when you're up on that stage, because if one person messes up, it's like dominoes. Everybody else follows and everybody else messes up. So I'm grateful that my school has show choir and just regular choir, because those type of things aren't, easy to find around in other schools. Like a lot of schools don't have that. A lot of schools have tiny little choirs. I mean, we have hundreds of people trying out for the choirs that we're in now. I mean, I'm in a select choir, which I'm extremely grateful for. There's choir you have to try out for. So I'm glad that I was picked to be in it, because some kids aren't as, what is it?
Talented.
Yeah, well, some people aren't as fortunate and get to be in things like that. So I'm really grateful that I am.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work. That's some good stuff, man. I love the fact that you are involving yourself in things, and you're staying busy, because that's good. All right, now guys, I know, Mark, that you were an amateur boxer. Is that correct?
Amateur and professionals.
Amateur professional. Pardon me. Okay.
Amateur and professional. So.
All right. So
I turned pro. So yeah.
Wait, say that one more time.
See, I was an amateur. I fought amateur, and then I turned pro. So.
Oh, you did turn pro.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I missed that. All right. Now, how long were you boxing for?
Off and on from the time I was 20 to about 32.
Okay, so about 12 years off and on.
Off and on, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go back to your Instagram again, and I'm gonna show this video right here, and it looks like so. Wait, what happened? Where's the video?
That's a short compilation.
It's a compilation, but there's the actual. Where's the actual video though? I had the video.
You can keep going down. Yeah, it's down.
It's farther down, yeah.
Oh wait,
that's Claude and Mark up there.
Right here.
No, that's me.
No.
Oh, that's Claude and Frank.
Yeah, if you keep going down, you'll find the one of him sparring either one of the boys, Frank or Henry.
Okay. Yeah. My bad. I thought I had the right video up. Hold on. That's okay. I'll look for it, but let's let me go.
I just sent you one.
Let me see this one. Okay. Now
Claude right there.
Yeah. Now this video I love, because this takes discipline. Like both feet on the tire. You got to maintain your balance and prep it for a fight. Now, how long? And I'm gonna ask Henry. So, what made you decide to get into boxing?
Well, for me, before I started boxing, I had gotten in some trouble because I was partying a lot. So, and I had just gone through. Me and my girlfriend were together for like 3 or 4 years, and we broke up. And I was trying to find something to, put myself into, something that I wanted to do, and I couldn't. And I knew I wanted to fight because my dad had boxed and stuff too. So I was like, well, I'll try boxing, because Frank had already started, I think, a week prior. And I was like, Frank, let's do it together. So me and him started going, and I really liked it a lot. And I started getting in shape, because I had gotten out of shape for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting in shape and started hitting the bag and stuff like that, and it relieved a lot of my stress and anxiety that I had from just partying for years and from smoking and stuff like that. And I got so comfortable that doing something that made me uncomfortable made me feel really good.
Absolutely, man. That's good. Now, so how many fights have you had so far?
I've had 5.
Okay. All right. Now, who else does boxing? Does everyone else do boxing or?
Yeah,
we
we've all
pretty
done
much
it
all do.
together,
These
yeah.
two are in it currently. Me and him. Him and I I've opted out for a while.
Okay.
That was my first fight right there, and that's my second.
Nice.
That was against Minaj Shahid.
Yeah, he was
He's
good.
crazy good.
Okay. Yeah, man.
So fast.
Yes. Yeah. I was just about to say that. Like that. Like you, man.
Yeah, those were my first 2 fights, and I remember being super nervous. My first one, I wasn't as nervous because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Second, third, and fourth fight, I was a little bit more nervous for because I'd been in there multiple times before, and I knew that it's scary, you know. But once you get hit a couple times and you start moving around, you're like, I'm fine, you know. My last fight, I fought against this one guy. He was probably 6'1", 6'2" or something like that.
Yeah, and he's apparently really good. Like he's got a name for himself.
And but I hadn't fought. I had missed a couple fights because I'd gotten sick and stuff, and I really wanted to win. So when I fought this kid, I really fought him. I mean, I had him up against the ropes a couple times. I actually
broke his
nose, and I gave him a concussion.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and I was ferocious in that fight. And Claude fought that same night too, and he was mean, just as me. He fought all 3 rounds nonstop. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And you both won.
Yeah, we both won. Yeah.
Henry fights the pros actually now, and he even has professionals in our area asking for him to come and spar him before big fights.
Nice. What made you all get into boxing? I know, Henry, you talked about you had a bad breakup, and you know you were partying too much or whatever, you know, and so you wanted to discipline yourself. I get that. Now, everyone else, what made you all get into boxing?
What made me want to get into boxing was Henry and Frank were going to boxing, and they kept telling me about how much fun it was, and I was just hanging out in my room drinking every weekend. I kind of started to get tired of it. Well, they told me how fun it was, so I was like, man, if it's that fun, I was like, let me go try it out. And then I went there for a day, and then after that, it kind of just became a habit, something I like to do, because I've always liked staying in shape. And then I go there, I also like to stay in shape, but fighting's fun.
Yeah. What made me get into boxing was I actually fought quite a bit whenever I was younger, whenever I was in school. I fought with Henry a lot, and then after I got into school, I started just picking fights, getting into fights, and a lot of the time I just won because I picked the fight. I wanted the fight, and people were, you know, you get to run in your mouth, people get afraid. But I had moved back to Missouri, and I was extremely overweight, and I was drinking like crazy, and I just wanted to try to do something different. So they all were like, I seen them all get wrapped up one day, and they were all getting ready to go to boxing. I was like, man, that looks pretty sweet. So I was like, what's it entail? And they all told me. And I also had always wanted to be a boxer because my father was a boxer. I have the same exact name as him, so I figured why not try to push that, you know? So I ended up joining up with them, and I fell in love with it, man. It's just like they said, it's absolutely terrifying just to get up in that ring, but there is nothing that you can compare that feeling to. Like, you know, even whether you win or lose, you don't lose, in my opinion, because you're getting up in there. There is a small percentage of people who will get in a street fight, nonetheless get in a ring with someone else who knows how to fight, who can potentially really mess you up. You know, you really don't ever know what you're going in. Even if you know about how fights are, you don't ever really know. But what made me get into it was I wanted to stay in shape. I wanted to just be a little bit tougher. I wanted to stop fearing everything, because at the time I actually had a lot of fear within myself of just everything of the world and it's fear that developed over time. But I had noticed that it was because I wasn't taking risks. I wasn't doing things that, you know, like I said, a man would do to make sure that he, you know, not necessarily doesn't fear anything, but just maintains that bravery. But and like I said, they were all going. So I'm like, shoot, let's do it. I went, and actually that's what made us even tighter. Going to their fights. It is stomach wrenching watching my brothers get up into that ring. I mean, I'm telling you what, I'm cool going in there. I don't care. I don't really care. I'm gonna fight. But
Yeah.
watching them get up in that ring is just rush of adrenaline that I just cannot explain. It's a whole different feeling. I remember my first fight. After I got down, I lost my first fight, but it was a really good first fight. And I remember after I got down, the adrenaline just completely wore off. I just couldn't hold it in. I just vomited everywhere. It was pretty crazy. But after that, I fell in love with it. I was like, oh man. I was like, okay. I've taken a break off of it since to work on other personal stuff in my life. And also, like I said, I had a boy, but I plan on getting back into it. Literally, I was planning on getting back into it this week. But what made me get into it was just I wanted to try something different, and I also wanted to have a little bit of that experience of what it's like to get up into that ring and fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Just being an athlete myself, and you definitely get that anxiety, and you get that rush, and I used to be like so nervous before games, like I almost felt like I couldn't even walk because my legs would be shaking so much. But once I laid that first hit, I'm like, okay, I'm in there. Yeah. Now with boxing. The one thing that I love about the sport is that it's one-on-one. You don't have any other teammates that like, hey, if you make a mistake, someone can help clean it up for you. Like, no, it's you and that person. So if you mess up, you're gonna get dropped, or you're gonna get a body shot or a knockout, whatever the case is. I definitely love that. And Mark, man, you're 63. You moving around like you like 25, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these boys keep me young. My advice to anybody who's older, you want to stay young, you need to hang around with young people.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lonely sport. They say it's the loneliest sport. That's what I've heard before, you know what I mean? Because like you said, you're up in there alone and everything. And like my father, most people are like, oh, your dad still spars you guys? Like, yeah, like how old is he? They're like, and we tell him he's 63 and like, oh, no way. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, if you guys knew, because I actually watched recently a video of some guys that were 83 and like 72, and they were running around in their yard, tripping each other and everything. And it's because they still have that young soul. I mean, recently, the last fight that Henry and Claude had, there was someone who was 63 and there was someone who was 78. And they boxed it out. They fought hard. They really did. It was because they did not let the limitations of society and how everybody says how they're supposed to be stop them. So they got in there and they truly did fight. They fought hardcore.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So I'm from New York, and there's this guy in Harlem. I want to say he's 71, and I mean, like, he doesn't look a day over like 30, like 30, 35. I mean, he is in impeccable shape, and like he does like the arm lifts and all of that stuff. Like, so yeah, and he hangs around like a lot of the young people, and like. He's actually been in a couple of like hip hop videos and stuff like that. But yeah, like definitely, as you said, Mark, if you want to keep young, hang around young people. I agree with that.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I definitely agree with that. Now, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've all learned from boxing?
Oh man.
I guess, biggest thing really is I learned that I didn't really know how to fight when I thought I did,
Yeah.
And I've also learned that, I don't know, it's made me, to a certain degree, I guess, maybe more of a man, and not in a way that I can really explain. I've learned to control my fear better and to control my emotions, because when I'm in there sparring somebody or before I step in the ring, I'm afraid, or when I'm sparring somebody and I get hit real hard, I don't let my emotions take control and start swinging wild, because that's how you get knocked out real fast.
Right.
I really learned how to control my emotions and how to think as I'm moving too, like just different things, multiple little things.
Yeah. I don't know what it's taught me. It's humbled me, because I definitely was really cocky kid, and I had always been like that. It wasn't necessarily confidence. I realized that the confidence that I had was like a false sense of confidence. I truly wasn't confident like I thought I was. And really, I think when you first spar with somebody who can potentially fight, that right there will really humble you, because you're in someone else's terrain. You have to learn to respect them, and then respect yourself enough to continue to come to boxing, continue to work on your craft, continue to work how you're doing in order for you to get as good as you want or need to be. So I mean, it's like Henry said, it's taught me a lot of stuff. It's really taught me more about myself than anything out in the world. You get the punch in the bag, and whenever your coach doesn't let you, if you stop, you're restarting at 3 minutes. 3 minutes punch in the bag straight. If you stop, everyone's restarting. So it really helps you. One, it helps you work with others and build a team. And whenever I feel like I just have nothing left at all, I mean, to the point where you're even crying because you just have nothing left, feel like you have nothing left. My brothers, that's made our friendship and our brotherhood even stronger, because they're like, don't give up. Come on, keep pushing. You are our older brother. How are you supposed to lead us if you cannot keep pushing? So it's taught me to be humble. It's taught me to respect myself and others. And it's really taught me, it's taught me so much. You could almost write a whole book about it.
No, you're absolutely right, man. One of the main things that like all of you have said is the discipline. The discipline is extremely important, especially for men and young men. I think that in nowadays society, the discipline tends to get overlooked, and I'm glad that all of you have said at one point or another the word discipline. I don't know if you all realize that, but all of you have said the word discipline. So at one point or another, that's extremely important. All right, so we're getting to the 2 o'clock hour, and I'm getting ready to close this out. So I want to start from the youngest now to the oldest. What would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned from your father?
How to duck, right?
I think it's I don't know. I don't really know.
That's
Probably,
okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to put y'all on the spot, but
probably if you have something that you want to do, like I've been wanting to do football like my entire life.
Yep.
Is to not give up and just keep on moving. Like the guy's been wanting to do boxing and go pro. They just keep on. They're persistent, and they just keep on going. They just keep on doing that.
Wait, so you play football?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man, come holler at me. I got you all day. Yeah, boxing. I can't tell you nothing about that, but football, I have a lot of knowledge in that.
Paulina?
I'd probably say not to take things for granted. Be different. Don't be like everybody else. Don't be a follower.
Don't steal all of them now.
And that's it. Yeah.
Frank?
Be grateful for what you have now, because you might not have that in like a couple years from now or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that all you learned from it?
Besides the fact that what's it called? He's persistent with being on me about stuff like this.
Henry?
I would say to be an honest person, live an honest life. That's one of the things that I learned very, very young is not to lie about stuff. I learned that from my dad because he would always tell us, if you guys didn't lie so much, I might believe you. So I quit. I quit lying when I was younger. I'd always told him the truth, and it actually helped me out a bunch. And now I'm like his right hand man because I'm honest with him and I help him out as much as I can. So,
Claude?
Well, I'm the smallest out of all of us, so besides Paulina. But even though you're small, My coach told me this a long time ago, but my dad always reassures it to me. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog.
That's a fact.
And with perseverance, persistence, discipline, and even when you feel discouraged, like it pays off in the long run. And when you hit rock bottom, the only way you can go is back up.
I don't know. I've learned a lot from my dad. Like Henry said, honesty. Live an honest, honest life. Live it with integrity. Find something that you enjoy doing. And you'll never have to work again. No, appreciate everything that you got, and you know what I mean. Like, really, there's a lot. There's really a lot that I've learned from my father. But like I said, like Henry said too. Honesty, integrity, compassion, because you never know what somebody else is going through, and everything that they're doing it the best that they can. And like I said, I could write books and books and books on everything that my dad taught me and everything that he showed us and he's continued to show us, but I think that the most important lesson that he's taught us is yet to be taught, and to appreciate your life for what you have and everything, and continue to be who you are, and just don't give up. Do not give up. That is the main one. Don't give up. Even when it seems like absolutely everything has been taken from you, don't give up, and it's never too late to start. It's seriously never too late to start. He's had breakthroughs now at an older age than he did before when he was younger and everything. So, live with integrity, be kind to others, be honest, and, just enjoy the life that you are given. Cause you only got one, and, just, be a generally good person. Just be a generally good person to everybody and everything, and appreciate everything that you have.
Absolutely. So Mark, what about you now? What you as a father have you learned from your children and raising your children? What is like some things that you've learned?
Patience.
That's a fact. Hey, listen, I only got one, but yes, patience. Good Lord, patience. Yes.
Someone say your children come through you, but not to you. That's something else. They all got their own path to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do anything but guide them. It's like they all have had their issues with partying. They've never seen me drink. I quit drinking over 30 years ago, but yet for some reason they did. They all got to find their own way. They have lessons. They're not going to learn from me telling them. They got to go out and find out themselves a lot of things. So it's really just about, I'm a lot better father now than I was when I was younger. And I think if I decide to have another kid or two, which I might, I'd be a better father then. That's why I think they say grandparents are so much better with kids. Well, they've got more experience. They've got more patience and tolerance. And the longer you live, the more you learn that they got their own path. You can't control them.
Right.
You just got to let them go.
Yeah. And eventually, they will find their way. Of course, there's there may be some bumps on the road, but some bumps in the road builds character, though.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely, I completely agree. All right, so I gotta show this video. And thank you for sending this to me. So I want you to kind of give some background on this. Hold on. Hopefully,
there should be sound. Yeah.
I think. Wait, is this a copywritten song? Because I don't.
No, it's not. No.
Oh, okay. So I can't have the.
Yeah, it was made.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my show choir. If you pay attention to the sound when you were listening to it, all of our feet hit at the same time. So a lot of that is like our teachers that like, you know, our coaches, our teachers, whatever, they really help us like, you know, all be on sync and all be coordinated. Like we have to move at the same time. We can't, no one can be offbeat. Everybody has to be, you know, on the same note as everybody else. So you can't mess up. The minute you mess up, everybody else does. But yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks. It looks pretty easy, you know, put together, but there's times where we've practiced from like 8 a.m. I think to 10 p.m. So it's a lot of work. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you can just tell like for everyone to be on the same page and in sync. Like this looks very very challenging. Like yeah, this is something I know I could not do.
Yeah.
I could not do this.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. We have choreographers fly in from different places around the world that help us do this type of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty hard.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely thank you for sending this to me because I was so intrigued to see how the show choir is. So I'm glad that I'm able to kind of match what you said and actually see like a visual. That looks good. That looks good. And you said you've been doing that since sophomore year, you said?
Yeah, I'm a junior now. I've always done choir since my sixth grade is when I started doing choir. So ever
Okay.
since sixth grade, I've been doing choir.
Ah, okay, okay.
It's been about 5 years.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I definitely appreciate y'all. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
No, sir.
Well, I'll say I'm a pretty proud father. Family was very important to my mother, and I was pretty close to my mother more so than my dad. So I guess I picked it. I never realized how important family was to me until I look back in retrospect over my life, and now sometimes I sit and think about how grateful I am. And and of course, I'd been married before and had kids taken away, and these kids were taken away at one time down there too. That's why I left. But something for the viewers, I would say this: everything you have today is something you wanted yesterday. So appreciate and be grateful for what you have today. And whatever you focus on grows. If you're grateful for what you have, then you'll get more of that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, man. I completely agree with that. Well, it has been a pleasure speaking to all of you, and I have spoken to a few of you, like in lives and things like that sporadically. But to see all of you all together, I think I truly appreciate you all for your time because I know all of you are busy and doing your own thing. But I thought it was very very important for us to have this conversation, especially during this holiday weekend. With Thanksgiving, to me, like I think about family, and I know Christmas people want to get gifts and all that stuff, but like family is what's important. I believe like having a strong nucleus is powerful, and there's power in numbers. So I truly appreciate you all.
Glad to be here. Thanks
Likewise.
For asking.
Absolutely, man. Well, you all know this is Kings and Dreams. We are at the 2-hour mark. I will be back with a live stream on Monday. Stay purposely purposeful, and I'm out. Peace.
Take care.